Los Angeles homicide detectives are holding a news conference later today to explain why they've decided to take a new look at the death of Natalie Wood.
The year was 1981, when Natalie Wood's mysterious death changed Robert Wagner forever. 4 decades later, he's fighting his own battle with memory loss, while his wife battles serious health issues and his daughter struggles with addiction. At 94, Wagner's life has become unrecognizable from his golden Hollywood days. Robert Wagner's story begins in Detroit, Michigan, where he was born on February 10, 1930. His father, Robert Wagner Sr., worked as an executive at Ford Motor Company, which gave the family a stable and comfortable life during the Great Depression. While many families struggled to make ends meet, the Wagners lived well. Robert's mother, Thelma, had worked as a telephone operator before starting a family. Together with his older sister, Mary, young Robert grew up listening to radio dramas, dreaming of exciting adventures, and imagining himself as the hero of the story. These daydreams were the first hints of the life he would one day live. When Robert was 6, his family moved to Los Angeles because of his father's job. This move completely changed his world. They settled in Bel Air, a neighborhood full of sunshine, palm trees, and beautiful homes. Movie stars and Hollywood big shots lived nearby, and suddenly, Robert was surrounded by the glitz and glamour of the entertainment industry. Living so close to Hollywood, it wasn't hard for Robert to start dreaming about becoming part of that world. The excitement of seeing the homes of famous actors and being close to the action left a big impression on him. As he grew up, Robert took a job as a caddy at the Bel Air Country Club. It wasn't just a way to make money, it was his first real connection to the movie world. While carrying golf bags, he met many Hollywood stars, including Clark Gable, one of the biggest actors of the time. Gable liked Robert and saw potential in him. One day, he decided to help the young caddy out by introducing him to people at MGM Studios. This gave Robert his first glimpse into how movies were made, and it made him even more determined to become an actor. But it wasn't just famous golfers who noticed Robert. One evening in 1949, when he was out with his parents at a Beverly Hills restaurant, a talent scout named Henry Wilson spotted him. Wilson was known for finding and launching the careers of young actors, and he immediately saw something special in Robert. He approached the family and offered Robert a chance to screen test for Hollywood roles. He introduced Wagner to executives at 20th Century Fox, and it changed everything. Wagner signed a contract with the studio, which meant regular paychecks and professional acting lessons. It wasn't just about the money. Wagner was now in the studio's star-making system. They taught him everything: how to act, how to speak in public, even how to move on screen. The studio worked hard to shape him into a leading man. For Wagner, this was like boot camp for stardom, and he soaked it all in. For Robert, this was like dream coming true. He wanted to act since he was a kid, and now he was in the perfect place to make it happen. He worked as an extra on film sets to learn the ropes, and told his father about his dream. His dad agreed to let him try, but there was a catch. Robert had 1 year to succeed, or he would have to quit acting and join the family business. This challenge made Robert even more determined to prove himself. In 1950, when he was just 20, he got his first role in a movie called The Happy Years. It wasn't a big part. He wasn't even credited, but it was the start of everything. The movie was about a mischievous boy sent to a strict prep school to learn discipline. Wagner got the role because his dad knew the director, William Wellman, who decided to give the young man a chance. For his brief time on screen, Wagner earned just $37.50, a tiny sum compared to what he would later make. But for Wagner, the experience was priceless. He watched experienced actors like Dean Stockwell and Leo G. Carroll and learned how professionals worked on a film set. It might have been a small step, but it was one he'd never forget. Interestingly, Wagner wasn't the only newcomer in The Happy Years. Dwayne Hickman, who would later become famous as the star of The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, also had a tiny, uncredited role. Years later, Wagner and Hickman would laugh about how they started in the same film, both with almost invisible roles. By 1953, Wagner's big break finally came. He landed a role in Titanic, a drama about the famous ship's tragic voyage. Wagner played Giff Rogers, a young tennis player who gets caught up in the lives of two passengers played by Barbara Stanwyck and Clifton Webb. The movie premiered on April 16th, just a day after the 41st anniversary of the ship's sinking. Wagner's performance stood out. Critics praised his charm and emotional depth, and people started to notice him as more than just a handsome face. That same year, he won a Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer. It was a huge deal for Wagner, showing that Hollywood saw him as a rising star. Suddenly, his paycheck went from $125 a week to $1,250, and studios were lining up to work with him. One of the highlights of Wagner's early career was working with Spencer Tracy. In 1954, they starred together in Broken Lance, a powerful Western about family conflict and prejudice. Wagner played Tracy's youngest son, and their scenes together were unforgettable. Tracy became a mentor to Wagner, sharing advice about acting and how to connect with the audience. Wagner later said that working with Tracy changed the way he approached his craft. 2 years later, they reunited for The Mountain, a survival drama set in the French Alps. Wagner admired Tracy's dedication and professionalism, and their partnership left a lasting impression on him. Wagner also showed his versatility by taking on very different roles in the mid-1950s. In 1954, he starred in Prince Valiant, a colorful adventure based on a popular comic strip. Wagner had to learn horseback riding and sword fighting for the role, and he even sported a distinctive hairstyle that became iconic. The movie was a big-budget production and a major hit with audiences. Then, in 1957, he took on the role of Jesse James in The True Story of Jesse James. This gritty Western explored the outlaw's life in a way that was more thoughtful than most action films of the time. Wagner insisted on doing many of his own stunts, including a dangerous train jumping scene that nearly went wrong. His performance was praised for its intensity and depth, showing that he could handle more serious roles. Robert Wagner's career in television began in 1968, when he took on the role of Alexander Mundy in the series It Takes a Thief. This show marked a turning point for him, introducing a new level of stardom. He played a suave and charming cat burglar who worked for the CIA, blending espionage and humor in a way that captivated audiences. The first episode drew an incredible 18.3 million viewers, setting a record for ABC at the time. Wagner's performance was so impressive that he earned his first major television award nomination, a Primetime Emmy, in 1970. The show ran for 66 episodes across 3 seasons, and Wagner appeared in every one, proving his dedication. It Takes a Thief not only revived his career, but also set a high bar for crime dramas with a sophisticated edge. After the success of It Takes a Thief, Wagner continued his television journey with Switch in 1975. In this series, he teamed up with Eddie Albert, forming a duo that audiences loved. Wagner played Pete Ryan, a reformed con artist who partnered with Albert's ex-cop character to solve crimes. The show was filled with action and humor, keeping viewers entertained for 3 seasons and 70 episodes. Wagner even performed many of his own stunts, including a daring helicopter scene where he dangled 2,000 feet in the air. Switch was not only a hit with audiences, but also a milestone for Wagner as he stepped into a producing role during the show's final season. This experience gave him more control over his work and expanded his influence in the industry. Wagner's career reached its peak with Heart to Heart in 1979, a romantic detective series that became a cultural phenomenon. Starring alongside Stephanie Powers, he played Jonathan Hart, a wealthy man who, with his wife Jennifer, solved mysteries as amateur detectives. The chemistry between Wagner and Powers was undeniable, making the show an instant hit. It ran for 5 seasons and 110 episodes, with peak viewership reaching an average of 20.5 million per episode. Wagner's portrayal of Jonathan Hart became iconic, earning him and Powers Golden Globe nominations. Even after the series ended in 1984, its popularity continued with 8 made-for-TV movies in the 1990s, in which Wagner reprised his role. Behind the scenes, Wagner demonstrated his business acumen, negotiating a contract that included a share of the show's profits, reportedly earning him over $15 million during its run. Wagner also made headlines for his off-screen business dealings. One of the most notable was his profit-sharing deal with the hit series Charlie's Angels. As part of his payment for appearing in a TV movie produced by Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg, Wagner secured a 50% stake in the profits of Charlie's Angels. This deal turned out to be extremely lucrative as the show became a massive success. However, it also led to a long legal battle. Wagner claimed he was owed millions in unpaid profits, and the dispute grew even more complicated when he argued that his agreement extended to the Charlie's Angels feature films released in 2000 and 2003. The court ultimately ruled against him, stating the original deal did not cover the movies. Despite the outcome, this case highlighted Wagner's sharp sense for negotiation and his willingness to fight for his rights. In the later years of his career, Wagner showed an incredible ability to adapt and reinvent himself. He became a fan favorite in the Austin Powers film series, playing number 2, the loyal and dry-witted sidekick to Dr. Evil. This comedic role introduced him to a younger audience and proved his versatility as an actor. The trilogy was a huge success, grossing over $676 million worldwide. Wagner also found new success on television, with recurring roles in shows like 2.5 Men and NCIS. His portrayal of Anthony DiNozzo Sr. on NCIS from 2010 to 2019 endeared him to fans once again. At an age when many actors slow down, Wagner remained active and relevant. In 2008, he published his memoir, Pieces of My Heart, which became a bestseller and offered a deeper look at his life and career. His ability to continually evolve as an actor and stay connected with audiences is a testament to his talent and resilience. Apart from career, Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood's love story began in 1956, when 27-year-old Wagner met 18-year-old Wood. Wagner, already a rising Hollywood star, had first crossed paths with Wood when she was just 10 years old on a movie studio lot. Young Natalie had been so captivated by him that she told her mother she would marry him someday. Years later, on her 18th birthday, their paths crossed again. What started as a publicity date arranged by Wagner's publicist quickly turned into a real romance. Wagner was drawn to Natalie's beauty and energy, while she admired his charm and sophistication. The couple became a glamorous fixture at Hollywood events, their chemistry undeniable. In December 1957, after 18 months of dating, Wagner proposed in a grand gesture. During a romantic dinner at a Beverly Hills restaurant, he slipped an engagement ring into Natalie's champagne glass. Overjoyed, she accepted immediately. Just a year later, on December 28, 1957, they got married in an intimate ceremony in Las Vegas. Natalie, just 19 years old, wore a simple lace dress, and Wagner looked sharp in a dark suit. Their honeymoon was straight out of a Hollywood movie. They sailed through the Florida Keys on a yacht, a nod to their shared love for the sea. Back in Beverly Hills, they settled into a luxurious home, becoming one of Hollywood's most admired couples. The early years of their marriage were filled with red carpets, glamorous parties, and even professional collaborations. In 1960, they starred together in All the Fine Young Cannibals, showcasing their on-screen chemistry despite the film's lackluster reception. But behind the scenes, cracks began to appear. Natalie's acting career was soaring, with major roles in Splendor in the Grass and West Side Story, earning her critical acclaim and Academy Award nominations. Wagner's career, while steady, didn't match the meteoric rise of his wife's. This imbalance led to tensions, with Wagner feeling overshadowed and Natalie grappling with her rapid growth as both an actress and a person. The couple's age difference, which had once seemed unimportant, also began to create distance. Natalie, just out of her teens when they married, was still discovering herself and pushing the boundaries of her craft. Wagner, now in his 30s, was more settled and focused on maintaining stability. By 1961, their relationship had reached a breaking point. On June 20th, 1961, they announced their separation, and their divorce was finalized in April 1962. Hollywood was stunned as their seemingly perfect romance came to an end. Rumors swirled about the reasons for their split, with some speculating about infidelity, but the couple publicly blamed career pressures and the challenges of fame. After their divorce, Natalie moved on with actor Warren Beatty, while Wagner sought solace in Europe and later married actress Marion Marshall. For nearly a decade, their lives went in different directions. Then, in 1971, fate brought them back together. Both newly single, they reconnected at a party, and the old spark reignited. They began dating again, and by July 1972, they were remarried. This time, the ceremony took place on a yacht off Malibu, a fitting setting for two people who loved the sea. Their second marriage felt stronger, with both having matured and learned from their past. The couple embraced their blended family, with Natalie welcoming Wagner's daughter, Katie, and Wagner becoming a stepfather to Natalie's daughter, Natasha. In 1974, they welcomed their own daughter, Courtney, completing their family. For nearly a decade, their love story seemed to have found its happy ending. In November 1981, Natalie Wood and her husband, Robert Wagner, planned what should have been a peaceful Thanksgiving weekend. They were joined on their yacht, Splendor, by Natalie's co-star, Christopher Walken, and the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern. The plan was to sail to Santa Catalina Island, a beautiful spot off the coast of California, and spend a few days relaxing. The day started like any other vacation. The group arrived at Catalina Island and docked at a small village called Two Harbors. They spent the day exploring, talking, and enjoying the scenery. By evening, they were at Doug's Harbor Reef, a local restaurant where they had dinner. Witnesses later said all four seemed drunk. Natalie, who was famously scared of water, had a blood alcohol level that showed she was well over the legal limit for driving. When they got back to the yacht, the mood shifted. Robert Wagner admitted later that he felt jealous of Christopher Walken. Walken had been close with Natalie while working on their movie Brainstorm, and their friendly connection didn't go unnoticed. Witnesses at dinner said Natalie and Walken seemed wrapped up in their conversation, leaving Wagner feeling left out. Back on the yacht, this jealousy exploded. Wagner and Walken started arguing, loudly enough for others on nearby boats to hear. Wagner later said the fight was about Natalie's career. Walken had encouraged her to focus on acting, even if it meant spending less time with her family. This suggestion angered Wagner. He admitted that he smashed a wine bottle during the argument and shouted, accusing Walken of interfering in his marriage. Captain Dennis Davern, who was also there, gave a darker account of the night. He said the argument between Wagner and Walken was intense, and later he heard sounds of a fight between Wagner and Natalie in their cabin. Davern also claimed that Wagner delayed calling for help when Natalie disappeared, even stopping him from using the yacht's searchlight. Sometime after 11 p.m., Natalie was gone. Wagner said he thought she had taken the dinghy to go ashore, even though she was terrified of water and would never have done this alone. A woman on a nearby boat reported hearing someone screaming, "Help me! Someone please help me!" followed by a man's voice saying, "We're coming to get you." But this detail was ignored during the investigation. The next morning, Natalie's body was found floating in the water about a mile from the yacht. She was wearing a nightgown, socks, and a red jacket. The dinghy was found nearby, beached on the shore. Her autopsy showed she had bruises on her arms and legs and a scrape on her cheek. The official report said she had slipped while trying to climb into the dinghy and drowned. The investigation was quick. Authorities decided her death was accidental and closed the case within a day. But many felt it was rushed. Witnesses weren't fully interviewed, evidence on the yacht wasn't properly collected, and key details, like the bruises on Natalie's body, were brushed aside. Over time, these gaps fueled countless questions and theories about what really happened that night. In 2011, 30 years after Natalie Wood's death, shocking new claims brought the case back into the spotlight. Dennis Davern, the captain of the yacht Splendor, appeared on television and said he had lied to police in 1981. He claimed that Robert Wagner, Natalie's husband, was involved in her death. Davern said he had made terrible mistakes by not telling the truth before. He also revealed that Wagner had stopped him from turning on searchlights or calling for help the night Natalie disappeared. This confession caught everyone's attention and made people question what really happened. The case didn't just get new attention, it also got new evidence. Investigators found bruises on Natalie's body that hadn't been explained. There were marks on her arms, knees, neck, and even her forehead. A detective said she looked like she had been attacked. Because of this, in 2012, Natalie's death certificate was changed. It no longer said she had drowned by accident. Instead, it listed her cause of death as drowning and other undetermined factors. This change meant there were still many unanswered questions about how Natalie ended up in the water. In 2018, police named Wagner as a person of interest in Natalie's death. This meant they thought he might have important information about what happened. Detectives pointed out that Wagner had changed his version of events over the years. They also questioned why he didn't do more to look for Natalie right away. One detective said, "His actions just don't make sense." Wagner, now in his 90s, has always denied being involved. His spokesperson called the accusations despicable and said people were taking advantage of a tragedy. Wagner said he had cooperated with police in the past and insisted Natalie's death was an accident. But his refusal to answer more questions made some people doubt him. Even after all these years, the full truth about what happened to Natalie remains a mystery. After Natalie Wood's tragic death in 1981, Robert Wagner's life took a difficult turn. But in 1982, just months later, he met actress Jill St. John. They started dating on Valentine's Day, and their bond grew stronger despite public scrutiny. They dated for 8 years before marrying in 1990 in a quiet ceremony. This was the 4th marriage for both of them, but it turned out to be the one that lasted. Now, after nearly 34 years together, they've built a life of love and support. They even worked on films together, including 6 projects over the years. Wagner didn't let tragedy slow down his acting career. In the 1980s, he returned to his role as Jonathan Hart in Heart to Heart TV movies, which fans loved. He also explored more serious roles, like in the 1986 TV movie There Must Be a Pony. By the 1990s and 2000s, Wagner's career picked up even more. He acted in movies like Dragon, The Bruce Lee Story, 1993, and Wild Things, 1998. He also popped up on hit TV shows, like playing Dr. Abbott in a memorable 1997 episode of Seinfeld. In the 2000s, he became known to younger audiences with a recurring role as Teddy Leopold in 2.5 Men. One of his most celebrated roles in later years was on NCIS, where he played Anthony DiNozzo Sr., the father of Michael Weatherly's character. From 2010 to 2019, he appeared in 13 episodes, charming a whole new generation of viewers. Family has always been the heart of Wagner's life. After Natalie Wood's death, he took on the responsibility of raising their daughters, Courtney and Natasha, as well as his daughter Katie from an earlier marriage. Natasha, who called him Daddy Wagner, shared how much his love and care helped her cope with losing her mom. In her memoir, More Than Love, she said their bond grew even deeper because he had to fill the roles of both parents. Wagner feels the same way about Natasha, calling her a light in his life. Their closeness was evident in the 2020 HBO documentary Natalie Wood, What Remains Behind, which Natasha produced. Wagner also found joy in being a grandfather. Katie's son, Riley, born in 2006, and Natasha's daughter, Clover, born in 2012, have brought even more love into his life. Through all the ups and downs, Wagner's family has been his rock. Robert Wagner, now 94 years old, is going through one of the hardest times of his life. In 2023, it was revealed that he had dementia. This news was heartbreaking for fans who had admired him for decades. Just a few years ago, he was still acting, even appearing on NCIS in 2019. But now, the illness has forced him to leave public life and focus on his health. His wife, Jill St. John, has been by his side every step of the way. They've been married for over 33 years, and Jill has taken on the role of his main caregiver. Friends say Robert still has moments where he remembers his life and career, but these moments are becoming rarer as time goes on. Jill, who is 83, is also dealing with her own health problems. In 2022, she had a serious skiing accident in Aspen. She broke her hip and needed surgery and months of recovery. This wasn't the first time Jill faced health struggles. In 2021, she had skin cancer. She kept it private at first, but later spoke about it to encourage others to get regular skin checks. Despite everything, Jill has stayed strong. Even though she sometimes uses a wheelchair now, she continues to care for Robert and manage their life together. Their daughter, Courtney Wagner, has also had a tough life. She's 49 now, but has struggled with addiction for over 20 years. It all started in the late 1990s after her fiancé died in a motorcycle accident. This loss sent her into a spiral, and she began using drugs. In 2012, Courtney was arrested for cocaine and heroin possession. She has been to rehab many times, but staying clean has been hard for her. In 2021, Robert begged her to try again, offering all the support she needed. Sadly, Courtney has resisted help, which has been heartbreaking for her aging father. In recent years, Robert and Jill have moved away from Hollywood and made their home in Aspen, Colorado. They bought the house in the late 1990s as a vacation spot, but now they live there full-time. Their home is in a quiet, beautiful area with amazing views of the mountains. It's also equipped with medical facilities to help with their health needs. The peaceful surroundings have been a blessing for Robert as he copes with dementia. Before their health challenges, they enjoyed being part of the Aspen community, attending events and spending time outdoors. These days, their life is much quieter. They spend their time at home, with days centered around medical care, therapy, and simple activities. Robert enjoys watching old movies, especially ones he acted in. Sometimes, these movies bring back happy memories. Jill, despite her own health issues, takes care of him and makes sure everything runs smoothly. Their children and grandchildren visit often, bringing joy and helping them stay connected to family life.